Well, I just hope it's not an indication that we're not looking at temporary help as closely as we scrutinize existing staff where we have frozen salaries and positions. I don't want this to be so popular that next year it goes from 700,000 to $1 million or $2 million if everybody decides it's a good idea. You're confident, though, in the long run, you believe this approach will save us money. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yes, sir, that's what I'm saying.
Well, if it doesn't, you're fired.
All right,
I'll move the item.
Motion to approve
But don't go away.
by Commissioner Mann, seconded by Commissioner Hull. Bob, you've answered my questions. I wanted to know what the return on investment was and actually how we are proceeding, not filling the permanent positions, but utilizing the temporary positions, and they are basically in a labor pool?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion on the motion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, we don't have positions frozen in this county. We are hiring people.
Well, I'm saying...
I mean, we're hiring full-time people. We have not frozen budgeted positions.
You're right, we have not.
That's what I'm saying. So I want to clarify that county management and department heads are still hiring full-time people.
Not for MedStar.
Well, again, Commissioner Bigelow, I appreciate your sarcasm, but
It's not sarcasm.
I want to say that we have departments that are hiring new people in full-time positions. So is it your understanding that we're not doing that, Commissioner Mann? Because I want to make sure that I understand.
Commissioner, I don't want to nitpick over
No, I don't want to either, but I just want to make sure I understand.
We have
because
450 less employees than we had 5 years ago. We have not been hiring people. I think that would be the overall policy. On key positions where we absolutely need to replace that person, yes, they had the authority to replace them if they needed to, but overall, we have frozen salaries and we have frozen people. But I yield to your technical point.
I'm not criticizing you because I want to make sure, because I've been very critical myself of do we need these higher end positions now? Do we need to fill? I mean, I personally went over after Bob's presentation to us at M&P and was concerned that he only had 10 employees. And I received, comments from the county manager that people were at their breaking point. And so I have pulled down every employee and I'm going through. So again, I want to make sure that we don't have people spinning out of, because they have no time to get all their work done, or we're not getting it done appropriately because this board has not authorized sufficient people to do the job that our expectations are not being met because we haven't. So, Commissioner, it wasn't a criticism and I wasn't nitpicking. I want to make sure that I understand because things are going crossways here.
Thank you.
And I'm concerned. So I want to just clarify for the record that we do have positions that we're filling that have been budgeted that have not been filled yet.
Further discussion on the motion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'd like him to answer,
Yeah.
Commissioner Manning.
I thought you
And
had-
that's not really a Bob, that's a Pete question. I apologize.
Commissioner, that's correct.
Okay.
However, when vacancies do come open, we do look to see if we can do it with temporary. There aren't the legacy of costs attached, and it helps even out the ebbs and flows of demand in certain situations where it may be make more sense to have temporary as opposed to
Thank you.
a permanent position.
Commissioner Bigelow.
I have some questions regarding the specifics of this item before us, but because the conversation has been allowed by you, Mr. Chairman, to kind of go a little sideways, I'm going to go there. Pete, would you agree with Commissioner Hall that the board has not frozen any positions?
Positions are not frozen. No, we look every time there's a vacancy in a paradigm where you're looking to cut costs. A vacancy is like gold, and you look to see if you can reorganize, if you can split up the duties, whatever you can do. If you can look at a cheaper way with temporary positions. So that isn't always the case, but. No, we do refill positions because we can't just not refill positions just when people leave for a variety of reasons, and so we have to provide the services.
Pete, everything you just said, as you're saying it, I'm thinking about MedStar. This board has not frozen the positions. Therefore, and you've confirmed that those positions are not frozen and that you fill vacant positions. And you sometimes do it with temporary employees. So when will those positions be filled? And what are you doing to fill those MedStar positions? Board-approved, board-funded positions. Will you do it with Pace Center Temporary Personnel Services? What are you doing with those vacancies? What are you doing with those vacancies if everything that you just said, Mr. Whitten?
We are bringing options to the board in November for their consideration.
And yet, they're frozen or no? Because Pete's saying they're not. And has this board said they'll remain frozen? We agree at an advertised public hearing? No. At the last meeting where this was approved and funded last week at the budget hearing, we gave no such direction. Okay, Mr. Bob.
Yes, sir.
This was a quote originally for temporary labor for solid waste, and then you're saying that other departments in the county started to use that quote.
Yes, sir.
Correct?
That is correct.
So how, I was trying to figure out how that happened. In other words, is that appropriate under the quote? Did the quote specifically say solid waste or any other Lee County?
Indeed it is, sir. Any annual that's done on a countywide basis can be used by any department in the county.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, it didn't say countywide, it said for solid waste.
Correct.
Okay, but this will actually not only increase revenue for this program or for this vendor, but it will expand it and memorialize it as an act of this board, right?
Correct.
Expand it by funding. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then I have to ask, like my colleagues, you know, is this then the alternative or the quick and simple approach to what maybe we need to be doing more permanently, which is increasing positions and funding them with this money? And I don't know, I guess you're not the man to answer that, but it seems like that might be a hint towards that. Because when you go from 318 and double the amount, $700,000, that's not chump change when you consider, relatively speaking, what salaries and benefit packages costs. And this doesn't give us enough information to know how many positions, how frequently, and what temporary nature they're used for. I don't know. Will this quote then be rewritten?
Perhaps a bit of historical perspective would assist you. Mm-hmm. When this quote was originally done, the county has always had a temporary personnel quote in place, office workers and such.
Right.
Okay. The problem was that as the county grew, and I've been here a while, so I can speak from this perspective, as the county grew and we developed our solid waste facility more, and this is exactly the genesis of this quote, we couldn't find anyone on the temporary personnel quote who wanted to stand out in the sun all day and run the tire shredder. Okay? So we had to go to a different level of temporary employment. Now, as the county has grown with the additions of facilities and so forth, for example, I mentioned parks earlier. Okay, one of the uses of this quote became temporary maintenance folks during the high season at the stadiums and so forth. Okay, so basically it's just evolved forward. It's been an alternative to, again, I use Kelly Services because that's what I know, but you know, other than someone such as myself who might come in with a shirt and tie on and work, this is someone who might come in with a pair of jeans and again run the tire shredder or what have you.
Okay, Bob, I got a couple problems. How long ago did this Pace Center Personnel Services quote, how long ago was it established? What's the commencement date?
The exact commencement date I do not know, but it's 090, which tells me it went into place in 2009. So we're about in the third year or so of the bid.
And we have not put this out for competitive bid since?
What we do, sir, is we renew it on an annual basis, and every year before we renew it, we go back to them and say, can you lower your rates? And I believe, I have to check and get back to you on this, but I believe we have been successful in that endeavor at least once or twice when we've gone back as a condition of renewal.
Yeah, but that's just with Pace Center. It's up to them whether or not they were willing to adjust down, and they have to adjust up. So it hasn't been competitively bid since sometime in '09?
Roughly 3 years, yes.
Okay, well, you lost my support on this one, that. And now, another question, because these just keep adding on themselves. The board approved this for temporary labor for solid waste,
Yes, sir.
and yet you're saying county management allowed it to evolve into other departments.
I can't speak for county management. What I can speak for is county policy from a procurement standpoint, and the procurement manual, which is an administrative code, which allows for the use of this type of an annual quote on a county-wide basis. It is to the county's best interest, because the more business we give somebody, the more negotiation power we have when we go to renew it. So when I go back, if we do choose to renew this, and I go back to Pacesetter and we say, well, my goodness, look at the difference in spend that we have with you now. It's economies of scale. Right. And so that's the whole idea. We don't, while it may be done originally for a specific department, it is always there for others to use. And again, if we go back to the genesis of the quote, with my tire cutter story, that was the deal, and that's why it's tagged to solid waste. But again, it's been, as we have grown as an organization, it has expanded out.
All right. Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to summarize my opposition to this, and that is that it's not been competitively bid since '09. I think it should be. I think we may do better. Secondly, I think this increase in price is a problem, potentially, because it's only determined with Mr. Bob F. negotiating with one vendor we acquired from 2009. And more importantly, and this is a problem that seems to be hanging out there as evidenced with the MedStar situation. The county management took board action and let it evolve outside of the bounds of the board action or directive or authority. I think we'll find out later that seems to be a trend here. If we're approving a quote for solid waste and yet it's allowed to evolve because it's in somebody's best interest, and yet the board has said it's for solid waste, that seems to be in kind of county management insubordination at large, if you will. Well, this has been a very interesting discussion.
Further discussion on the item? Objection?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1. Commissioner Mann, you had 13C.
Mr. Francischini, don't go away. 13C is a contract of sorts that we have with Mater Electric. It too went from $634,000. You're asking to be allowed to spend up to $1 million. That's a $400,000 increase, and I need some comments on that. And also, I'd like to know, I'm familiar with Mater Electric. I think up in North Fort Myers, they do a lot of electric motors, and they enjoy a good reputation. But are they the only ones that do this kind of work in Lee County, and how long have we been there? Kind of following the tone of Commissioner Bigelow's question. So tell me how we jumped for $400,000 in 1 year, and then do we look out for other vendors on this?
Absolutely. Again, a little bit of historical perspective on this. Part of the reason that you're seeing or a major reason why you're seeing an increase here is that years ago, when we looked at making a repair or a replace decision, chances are we would replace. Given our economic situation and so forth, we're taking a harder look at those things. And more often than not, we're making a decision to repair. Motors are hugely used, as I'm sure you know, throughout our utility system, basically running everything. Okay? So rather than purchase new motors, we have them rebuilt, we have them rewound, we have them redone in general to get the maximum life out of them. Now, this was competitively bid, 2010 by this number, okay, so that would be 2 years ago. We have gone back and renegotiated upon renewal, and we have Mr. Mater, Mr. Jeremy Mater, as low as we can get him. I have squeezed every dime out of that man that I can. And we keep going back, and we will go back again with this increased in amount. And again, while this is, I believe this one, yeah, utility